yet again that people can in fact be competitive. It certainly is very strong in the meta currently. The skills 33, not enough damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the
I think no matter who he went for, maybe they would have had a chance anyway. But yeah, choosing to go for the wrong player in the end, and should have jumped to the right. And there's a few instances as well where he's jumping on probably the wrong people that he shouldn't be doing, and using jumps when he shouldn't have as well. But it's just part of the learning process when you're playing against players of this caliber like Humble. Getting beaten 2-0, it's gonna be tough to keep your mentality in check.
Let's hope they won't get too nervous now and they can still take it over to the third set. It will already be our last one. We're heading into Shooting Star. Bounty is one of those modes where maybe mechanical skills are a bit more important than pure strategy. They need to really just win their 1v1s in the end. How does this set fare for REVERSO compared to the previous two?
I mean, I think it's just more of the same, really. I don't know if there's necessarily going to be a mode where they're going to be better than Humble because Humble are just... I mean, they're world champions. You've got to be very good at every single game. And yeah, Humble, to put it simply. It's just... And I don't know if necessarily a draft's really going to help them that much either. I don't think Humble are going to allow themselves to be that outdrafted that it's going to bridge the gap between the mechanical skills of these two teams, which makes it a very tough position to REVERSO to be in.
Humble so far picked up the Nita twice, the Frank twice. We don't see them bend out here, Ark. Is that a huge mistake, or do they really just not make any sense on Shooting Star?
I mean, certainly I think the most valued ban for me is the Mr. P. I think the Max is an interesting one for REVERSO. Kind of screams maybe a potential there for Piper pick for REVERSO. That as well. I think Grey first picks has been a safe one to deter some throwers as well. But for me, I think the Gus being left open here, definitely going to be snapped up in my opinion, or should be for the most part here. Tick ban, very common in the EMEA. We don't see it that often in other regions, but certainly here it's pretty much a must ban for every team in Shooting Star. So I'm not too surprised to see that as well. Juju for the mid, I think could be a certainly viable option still, regardless of that Grey. Just simply because of her utility and her ability to be able to defend a lot of that situation with the gadget. So RT going to come in for Humble. A very stable diet in EMEA yet again. Never really on the bans, but certainly a very high pick rate for that particular brawler. I'm looking as well for Nani here, because if the Piper's picked up, that's going to be her biggest counter.
Yeah, nice and versatile for the RT. Good at close range, good at long range. If you have to play at close range, which is very rare on Shooting Star, but helpful for if, preventing a Grey TPing in, killing one of your teammates, something like that. There's the Nani that you mentioned. Great pick. The Peep, very, very solid to be able to pick up some kills. If your teammate gets a hit here and there, you're able to go in and finish it off from the back lines. And the range and damage just unparalleled on Shooting Star down these lanes.
Yeah, I like that. The fact that REVERSO didn't double down too early with the Piper pick. Going with the Grey was quite smart to allow then Humble to... I could see it through the bans. Humble was smart enough to pick the counter early on. And yeah, REVERSO for that reason, not going to be swaying towards the Piper pick now. Leon, definitely a bit more of an underrated brawler pick here. Definitely was very meta back in the day on this particular map. So I don't mind now that the gadgets are being reworked in the way that they are. So Leon as well now, the Lollipop drops a 20-second cooldown, quite towards the higher end of things, I would say. Home Protector's on 13%, so we have seen a bit more of that coming through somewhat now. Penny though as well, that's a really good brawler pick. When you think about it, the Lollipop drop, if that is the gadget of choice on the Leon, the turret's going to be able to target that very quickly and swiftly, and that hypercharged mortar goes down on the map. That is going to be a big problem in pushing into the spawn side where it's going to be protected by Humble.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this one's going to play out. You've got to expect a Humble 3-0 here, I think, but REVERSO still in with a chance. Obviously, anything can change at pretty much any second's notice if any mistakes are made, but that's just not really in Humble's blood. We'll see if Boss is able to get a turret nice and early on, playing through this mid. Salty Barrel place there to be able to tank it and get it early on, and we see him miss on that walking cane as well. Not the start that REVERSO wanted.
Great gadgets there from Boss, the Salty Barrel there, normally just as the deterrent for the walking cane, but he was able to juke it. Nuki just trying to seek out Nest there on that right hand side, and that Lollipop drop is about to go down as well. Just a blue star, but Humble want a bit more than just that before they go back on the defensive. They want to keep on the aggressive here and try to secure something themselves, but a bit of a stalemate as both teams. Yeah, second miss walking cane, but best of starts there for Rondi.
It's not a huge difference in stars considering no one's died yet, and Semantic's going to miss the Peep on the left-hand side, sorry. But we'll see if REVERSO are able to drag this one back, because it doesn't really seem like Humble is stepping out of position too much, and Semantic doing a good job of winning his lane on the left-hand side against the Leon here, which, as expected, you kind of expect it to go that way.
Yeah, Lukey just flexing there, the champions pin of 2024, just to remind Reverso of who they are. And yeah, a few little light taunts going on. People getting coming through, but again, a second miss from Semantic. Some mistakes happening on both sides at the moment, sure.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, you've got to take advantage of these mistakes, but it's not like the mistakes of stepping out of line and stuff. It's just not extending the lead that I'm sure Humble would like to extend. Another Walking Cane going to be missed, and we'll see if this Peep's going to connect. It's hypercharge this time as well, and he set it up pretty perfectly, boss there, but a good tank coming in from Ondi to be able to prevent that from happening. Still, Humble in a good position, but no kills yet.
Yeah, no kills and 25 seconds on the clock. The penny turret there going to be laying down some more to fire. Oh, there's the splash there of Boss. Be able to eradicate there as well. That's 3 stars now of a lead for Humble. And Ness low HP on that left-hand side is going to be pinched there between the turrets. A rock in a hard place now. 10 seconds on the clock. And a push coming through. TP is available there for Ondi. The shield as well from the Gus is huge. He gets Semantic, but Boss there with a salty battle blocking his way. Lukey low HP as well. It's still a glimmer of a hope, but no! Boss shuts it down! 7 stars to 5, and a match point going the way of Humble.
I mean, it wasn't convincing at all, to put it simply. They played pretty badly, to be honest with you, especially Semantic down that left-hand side, missing a few peeps that probably should have secured kills earlier on. But they still managed to get the wins, and I think that just goes to show how strong Humble are. Regardless of mistakes on the offensive side, on the defensive side, they're pretty sound.
It just feels like they're playing with the food somewhat a little bit there again. And this Walking Cane to a Slaughter Barrel, not going to be doing too much there for Ondi. He's really struggling a little bit on this grey pick so far. Good to have some Semantic there as well. Nearly on back is now the double siding here. Lukey slightly as well, but let's see if this connection is there with the Peep. Ness going to be going straight to Semantic here. That's not the play. Boss and Lukey can see that coming a mile away and able to secure it down. 5 stars and the blue and a penny turret on the map as well for Humble. They're set up.
Yeah, it's looking good for Humble here and Boss. Really not feeling too much pressure from the left-hand side, which is good for him, as Semantic's dealing with that lane pretty well, but now the invis comes through, and Nez might be able to find Semantic a bit of help from the mid as well.
Really get any connections. Hypercharged Mortar now down, and this is where the defense is going to be just double what it was previously. So he's already found Ness within the invisibility, so they know that he's lurking forwards, and that's going to be the shutdown there. Nice shield handed over from Root to then onto the Ondi as well, and that's going to bring the scoreline just a little bit closer together, but still 1 star separating things, and 35 seconds left on the clock.
Decent position here from Reverso, though. They've got this TP set up on the right-hand side, and Walking Cane will get rid of this hypercharged turret, but Ondi almost goes down. Shield been provided by Rupp, which would have been very useful in the closing seconds to try and drag this 1-star deficit back. But Semantic feeling pretty confident on this right-hand side, stood still there for just a second and tried to get a few connecting shots to extend this lead even further. But Reverso have got a chance.
Look at that from Boss. What an amazing ability to preempt the situation that's coming for him, but there's a lot of pressure now on the side of Humble to be able to defend their spots here. Lukey low HP, it's Semantic that finds Ness, Root low as well, and Humble come out on top, 12 stars to 6. And it's going to be a semi-finals appearance for Humble at least today. For Reverso, it's back to the drawing board.
I mean, Humble seemed to be knowing what Reverso were doing before Reverso were doing it. There was you know, 2 times where they predicted the TPs, and you pointed out Boss shooting to the TP on the right-hand side, knowing Ondi was going to go through it, and then at the end, Lukey pressed super before he even TP'd in. So it's, you know, Humble just on very much on top of things. They're the world champs for a reason, and that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it has been very convincing overall from Humble. I feel like they just had a lot of fun with it as well. It looked like, as you said, Trev, sometimes they just try to predict whatever their opponents were doing. Humble is certainly ready for their opponents in the semi-finals. We sadly already have to say goodbye after this to Reverso. I still hope they...
Something when you're coming in that early stage of your careers, but you know, everyone's got to start somewhere. And I think they've already made some massive moves this year in this season, and I think that we'll see them again before the season's over, and hopefully even maybe get like an LCQ spot from them. I think that, you know, it might be a bit hard to believe that they can make it to Worlds the way that they're performing currently, especially with not qualifying last month. But again, I'm looking for these signs, and their drafting is pretty decent. You know, getting the win in that qualifying stage over Papara Supermassive, I think was a huge result for them. I don't think that really many of us expected them to get a win against Humble, but they can certainly make some moves in months to come.
Yeah, maybe also a little bit unlucky for them. We talked about it before, making it into the monthly finals for the very first time, their first appearance ever. Yet they face against the ex-World Final winner from last year. So, yeah, I think they could have had a better bracket. Talking about the bracket, let's have a look at it right now. We only just watched Humble win dominantly against Reverso. And Trev, guide us through what is yet to come.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say, as you mentioned, about the progression. It's just Humble moving forwards. Eclipse versus Reply Totem will be what's coming up next. We'll see which one of those two face off against doesn't matter who it is. It's going to be a pretty Italian, or at least for the org standards, semi-final. For esports versus Xperia and NXT will be up just after that, and then Team Electros versus SK Gaming will round out quarterfinals, and then we'll have 4 semi-finals ready to battle it out for a place in the Grand.
Ark, we talked about it before. Eclipse Esports versus Reply Totem, probably one of our closest quarterfinals, and it's coming up next.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one massively. I think for me as well, like the game modes is where it's going to come down to. I think for Eclipse Esports, Gem Grab and Brawl are their worst modes, so that's 2 and 3, and their strongest is the 5th set in Heist. So if they get to the 5th and final set, they might get the edge here. For Reply Totem, really tough road to get to this stage. 2 losses to this very team, to a 2-3 scoreline. They're going to have to bring it all out of the bag today.
Ok, la risposta è C, 4400. D, All Eyes on Me. A, 724. B, 3600. C, 25.
Welcome back to the Brawl Stars Championship, to the March Monthly Finals in EMEA. We have Kenny for today for the very first time. How are you doing today?
Doing good. I mean, things went kind of as expected in that quarterfinal 1, but I'm hoping things spice up a little bit here for a second.
It certainly will. We talked about it so much already, how much we're looking forward to this, because it's going to be so close, Trev.
Yeah, it's... regardless of the results that we've had in the past, I'm still expecting a Reply Totem win. I think you look at the players on that team and kind of expect them to be able to beat the most of people, but it just hasn't been happening this year, which always makes you question it just a little bit. Maybe that synergy hasn't kind of formed with Angel Boy just yet. You can never doubt it with Mauro and Mori, though. But looking at the Eclipse side, we saw them last month. It didn't go to plan. They didn't look that strong at all, but through the qualifiers, they seem to be doing absolutely incredible, which makes me question it a little bit whether it's down to nerves or if maybe there's a few drafting issues when those nerves do start to hit.
Are already playing in the last monthly final. They had Simple in. They seem to have a pretty good run. And
yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, it's very, very solid overall, which makes you kind of question it a little bit, because that's what makes me think it's down to the nerves of getting to these monthly finals, possibly being on the cameras, being on the biggest stages. You have to question why they're not getting these kind of results in the actual big stage, because that's where you've got to prove your point. I'm not saying that the monthly qualifiers aren't going to be making you nervous, because there should be